How to go from 22% body fat down to 10% body fat. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Tom Sergi. I run the Gorilla Pursuit, which is a physique transformation group where we spit out results like this in the art of body recomposition. Burning body fat, building muscle tissue. That is what we do here. If you are a returning viewer of the channel, thank you and welcome back. You'll know we've done, 9 other videos like this on the 9 other results that we've got for the guys within our program. Hopefully I can teach you something new, and maybe you are sat around about that 22% and you're thinking, well, what should I do to get down to this condition here of 10% body fat? This video we're going to show you exactly how we do that. So if you're currently sat at this point here, first thing you need to go and do is take your photo so you've got your objective start point, and then what we're going to do is use this later on to work out our current start point, our body composition, how long it's going to take, calories needed to be eaten, and training program that we're going to piece together that's going to serve you best for that aesthetic physique look. So this was our client's starting point. Now in this video, my promise to you is by the end of the video, you'll know how to go from 22 to 10% body fat. Basically, just get shredded. This is everything you need here. If you like the sound of that and want to learn about how to get shredded, just subscribe. There'll be more videos like this coming out. We post every day. So there's for sure solutions to issues you're currently facing. And hopefully you find lots of value in this video. If you do, subscribe. If you don't subscribe. First of all, let's discuss why do you want to get to 10% body fat anyway? It's always a question I like to discuss with people, because I like to know their ulterior motives on why, because that why is really going to be your weapon for when it starts to get really tough and hard. And why this guy wanted to get to 10% body fat is because you wanted to look, feel, perform, act, and carry yourself like an athlete. Because if you look like an athlete, you're going to feel like an athlete, you're going to perform like an athlete. When you perform like an athlete, you're just going to act like you already are an athlete, and then you will carry yourself as an athlete. Now, how you do one thing in life is how you do everything. I think we'd probably agree. So if you're carrying yourself like an athlete, how are you then going to be in the other aspects of your life? You're going to perform like an athlete would in the other areas. It's contagious and it crosses over and it also spreads to other people. So it's a very beautiful thing if you could harness a strong why as to why you want to get to 10% body fat. I believe all men have the birthright to be athletes, and then you can get down to this level of condition. You can go and do whatever you want from this point here. You could go into distance running, you could go into boxing, you can pivot and go into just pure muscle building. You could go into strength. You can literally do whatever you want because you are just as lean as a bean, not carrying any body fat. You've built a fair, safe amount of tissue. And now it's like, well, now what from here? And that really just depends on you and your goals and where you want to take this. So the art of doing a body recomposition would really serve everyone in this instance. And then most importantly, it's about becoming that athlete mindset that you want to become and upholding your self-image and standards to a higher point than what it was before. And that's what it's really about here. So we're going to achieve this for you in a 3-step process. With step 1, we're going to look at the nutrition hack that we use to get people down to these lean levels. The first thing we want to do is set up your current body composition. So we're going to do this with the assessment. So I knew, by the way, that this client was 73 kilos. Now, as we look at his midsection here, what I want you to do is look closely at the body fat he's carrying, and then what we're going to do is compare it to this graph that we can see here. So I believe he was a little bit looser than the guy at 20, but nowhere near 25. And that's where I went with a 22% body fat reading. So we needed to take that and his scale weight, and that would have then given us his lean mass. Now, why is that important? Well, we want to get your lean mass, and we want to add 10% to it, or 8 to 10%. Give yourself that room, because maybe you get to 10 and there's a touch more that could come off and make you look even better. So that's what you want to look at. So with here, we worked out his lean mass. That will also give you your RMR. That number's important because you never want to go below RMR. It's just not healthy to do, not for any length of time, really. So once you've understood how your current scale weight you want to achieve to get down to, you can work back in a time frame. Now, a good level of progress would be to drop 1% of the scale weight per week. Now, in the beginning, you can expect that where this guy's, it'd be 0.7, you can expect a kilo drop for the good first few weeks because you're coming from 22% down to 18%. It will fall off you if you're in the right deficit there. But when you do get down to those leader levels, if you're dropping that 0.7, 0.6, you're in the sweet spot, because you also don't want to drop it so fast that you could run the risk of losing tissue. And if the time frame is quite short, you would have had less of a window to potentially gain and build some muscle. So just set your expectations with that. You can roughly achieve a kilo a week, but I would aim off that it's going to be anywhere from 0.7 to a kilo per week, and then work your time frame and your distance out and how long that's going to take. Now, this will also determine your RMR versus how active are you, because this will determine what your maintenance is going to sit at. Now, the average person is going to be sat times 1.55, active 3 to 5 days a week of exercise, not completely desk bound, but also not as active as like someone in construction or someone in the military. So then you're going to times it by 155, and that is generally the average, and that's why I always set it to this for these videos, because it's going to cover the most amount of people. You may be really desk bound, really sedentary, times it by 135. You may work in construction, times it by 175. Now from there, we want to work out how much of a deficit do we want to put you in and how much of a drop. Now, as a rule of thumb, I spoke about at length on this channel, that if you're around 20% body fat, don't go in a massive deficit to start with. Look at like 0.5%, and that will take off around 400 calories. If you're over close towards 25, then go at like a 0.7%, and that'll take you, towards 5, maybe 600 calories. If you're close to 30%, you want to get a full 1% off. That's going to be best part of 1,000 calories. And likewise, if you're in between that 17, 16, 18 mark, you're going to go in at 0.3. That's literally just going to be about 200 calories short. And that's the rough rule of thumb that I tend to use with my guys. It seems to work quite well. So we got his initial setup of calorie intake. Macros, the protein is important to set first, because your protein is going to repair and build the tissue. It's also a very satiating macronutrient, which means it will keep you fuller for longer. So repair muscle, fuller for longer. Big win-win. Now, where do you get this number from? Well, you're going to take your lean mass. You're going to times it by 2.4. Reason for this is the lean mass that requires the protein, not the body fat. So there's no reason to have really high protein, but you may actually see that for someone that size, that is quite high, and it potentially is, but that's just what the lean muscle mass requires, to be built and to stay on the frame. Fats you're going to set at 20% of the target, and carbs are going to make up the rest. So that's going to be your initial setup, which was very important for your start point. It's important that you get that right, because if you're generous with how fat you are, you will give yourself more food, it will take longer. If you're harsh, really harsh, you'll play your cards too early. If you go too low too fast, where do you go from there when the body starts to stop responding? Because it eventually will. So my motto is that we keep calories as high as we can for as long as we can. Now you may think, why? Well, the reason being is it will allow you to uphold that gym floor performance. Remember, we're doing a body recomposition. The goal is not to just rip everything off the frame, muscle included. The goal was to rip off body fat, at least retain, if not build some tissue during the process. Now, of course, you will look leaner you will look bigger when you get leaner as well. Let's not forget that. But we do want to ensure that we're holding on to that tissue on the frame. So gym floor performance is going to be the greatest reason as to why that is. Protein will supplement it, but gym floor performance is the most important thing. So with that, what will drive performance in the gym? Food. So don't go so low with the food, because your training performance will dip so low, you'll end up running the risk of losing tissue. So, all right, if I'm not playing my food card just yet, what can I do? Well, you can look to increase output, activity, more cardio instead of less food, unless you're really busy. If you're really busy, you're going to have to go for the lower food approach. But this is in an ideal situation where you work 9 to 5, you've got evenings to go and do this for training, a bit of time in the morning for cardio, and time for steps as well. This is an ideal situation. It's not one size fits all. I've got clients that just are too fucking busy to do so much cardio, so they do a little bit and we end up having to pull from food. It is what it is. We've got to get the results some way. So that's one thing I'd say on why I like to keep food high. The next question, and probably one of the biggest ones that will get you to the result over the long term, is how and when do you make a change? Now, you are tracking your data. Let's assume you are intelligent enough to track your data. This means photos. This means scale weight daily, photos weekly. Your nutrition tracked daily, the overall amount. The sleep is tracked daily, and also your output, so steps and cardio, is tracked daily. Once you've got all of those metrics and you run it for a week, you will understand what response did the input and output, food and movement, give my scale weight reading, and also visuals, but not so much at the beginning, more towards the end, visuals are important. And if you didn't see in the beginning, 1 kilo or at least 1% drop per week, that is a green light. Normally in the first week, I would lower food because it's going to give you a greater impact rather than cardio. Because in that first week, if you didn't see a change, you just undershot how much food you actually should have, or overshot how much food you should be eating. However, if it's not the first week, the weeks after that, I'm then increasing output. So we're starting 20 minutes cardio daily, heart rate 120 to 130 on some of this non-impact cross trainer, bike, incline treadmill on a walk. And then you're going to progress that week on week. But you don't need to play that card every time because you will pull a lever, i.e. this time it was increase output, and you'll see a response from the body. It will drop the kilo. Perfect. Rinse that out until you don't see the response. Don't see the response, add more output. Rinse that out again, don't see the response, add more output. Or it may get to the point where you need to decrease some food. As you need to start decreasing from food, maybe look at the ratio of fats to carbs, and if you can pull a bit from fats, it will keep your food volume higher, which carbs are probably the most important thing for driving performance in the gym, which is they're going to retain tissue. So I would really stress, look to keep carbs as high as you can, so look to pull from fats, and maybe even towards right in the back end, maybe you pull a bit from protein to keep carbs a little bit higher. You might need to do that, okay? But as a rule of thumb, don't change it if the scale weight is dropping. When you make change, it's because the scale weight has started to plateau. You're not seeing any result. How you make change is you either decrease from food, but if you can help it, increase through output, cardio, or steps, but steps are time costly. That's how you make that change to then see the next result. How do you overcome challenges? So specific challenges this guy had, well, because he's an athlete, he was doing distance running up in the Scottish Highlands, grueling environment, long distance. So this was not optimal for what we were trying to do, because what we want to do is minimize fatigue, minimize appetite. This would obviously increase both of those. So what we need to do is just plan ahead and be a little bit smart with it. Know that we need to give more food and more output for that day, which it's going to then hurt us on the back end because appetite's going to stay high for a good couple of days. But it's just something we need to manage because, let's be honest, in the time frame that you need to get the result, you're going to have your own challenges. You're going to have a wedding you need to attend. You're going to have a night out you need to attend. So it's a case of looking ahead, reducing calories across the week, banking those, allocating it for the event, and then working out after what needs to be adjusted to allow you to continue making progress. There is no good just saying, I'm not going to do anything, I'm going to be a hermit, because you will fall off the other side from the perspective that you just got bored, lost interest, thought it wasn't achievable, that you have to be a robot. You don't. It might just add another week to the time frame, but if you've got to do the event, it's gonna keep motivation higher. Like, you're gonna want to be itching to get back to it to continue to make that progress. So I would honestly say, overcome the challenge. Don't just try and ignore it. But if you can, minimize them as much as possible, ideally. So that it wasn't a massive challenge that we had. To be honest, very, very mentally robust client. Wasn't one for cheating on the diet. Never came to me saying, I messed up at the weekend. It was more we just needed to navigate his other events that he had commitments to, and rightly so, because we're an athlete at the end of the day. It's not about making you guys bodybuilders. I'm not here to make anyone a bodybuilder. I'm here to do body recomposition, scrape off your body fat, build muscle tissue, and just have an overall nicer aesthetic physique. Now, how to train to get results like this. So nutrition is obviously very, very important, but I've spoken about how the training stimulus is what will change the shape of the physique. Now, what we needed to do first was select his exercises relative to the areas we wanted to bring up, which were specifically the delts, arms, and the chest. Appreciate this last shot here, we actually didn't show you the chest development. Maybe you can tell here if you look at the shelf. Let me zoom this in for you. If you can see the shelf here versus what we had here, you could see that we did develop some chest. Obviously, the delts took a bit more shape. The arms took more shape as well. And the back also added some tissue there. So overall, pretty successful. So what program did we run for this? We ran a 5-day training split, tailored towards the upper body and not towards the lower body. Lower body was there, but lower body was really to manage any chance of injury from the distance work he had to do as well. So what we did here was we set a push day, a pull day, legs, then ran a rest day, chest and back, and then arms and delts, because we wanted to add that more volume towards the physique. Now, honestly, this is the program I pretty much use for for most clients that come to me with this goal, for the majority of all my clients, they're on this program. It's the one I also follow myself. It's the one I believe gives enough balance and depth to the physique. So that's why I run that program. It adds a lot of volume to the arms and the delts, allows you to hit everything twice with good amount of volume, good amount of intensity. So it captures all frequency, intensity, and volume. That's the reason why. Now, if it was for a female, I wouldn't program like this. I'd do it in reverse. If anything, it'd have more lower body days than upper body days because their goals generally are different. Men want more upper body, women generally want more lower body, generally speaking, and that's why we run the program like that. So no secrets, nothing fancy in this. But what we did do was we made sure accuracy was performed to the highest of standards. So he would send me form clips and I would assess and break them down and develop them. Now, when we speak about accuracy, what we're trying to really establish here is your ability to target the working muscle, put tension on the working muscle and use the load to stretch and shorten the muscle, not to move the weight from A to B. So what do I mean by this? Well, let's say you're going to do a chest press. You can either press the weight from A to B like this, or you can think, well, the muscle starts here, it runs across here and inserts onto my upper arm. Or I can converge the load across my body. Now, dumbbells, generally when you press them to the top, there's no resistance because the joints are stacked on top of each other. So you've got load, joint, floor, all through the resistance. It's like if I got you to hang off a wall, like a rock climbing wall, the straight arm, hang there a lot longer than if you had a bent arm. So if we think about a dumbbell exercise, when you come down towards the bottom, try and reframe your mind with this. We'll go into tempo in a minute, but essentially you want to come down slow, stretch out the fibres, pull the fibres apart, get down to the bottom. It's harder at the bottom, so spend a good second there. Feel the fibres, feel the tension, and then you want to think about driving the origin insertion together. So what was that again? It was the bicep coming across towards the pecs. That's training with accuracy. And to put it simply, it's to shorten the origin insertion, but to put it even more simply than that, it's to shorten the start and the finish point of the muscle together with load under control. That is accuracy. Let's not overcomplicate it. If you can do that with every muscle, you will blow up your physique. If you want to know how to do that for each of the muscle groups, there's plenty of videos across the channel that you can find after this. Tempo is the speed you're going to perform the reps. So the reason why tempo is so powerful, and I've used this analogy before, is imagine me and you are on a rugby or a football team. We're about to run out the tunnel. Loads of fans are like leaning over, want high fives. We'd run out fast. You try and high five as many people. You might like catch a thumb, miss, good connection, miss, good connection, thumb, finger. And you didn't really get so many high fives. If you jog/slow walked out, you could go boom, 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 boom with all the fans. Good, solid connection. And that's what you're trying to do when you train. If you could lift slower, you're just more likely to stretch the working muscle, pause, and shorten it back together. Versus if you lift like a fucking sewing machine, you're just not going to be able to do that, are you? So tempo, as a rule of thumb, slow the way down, get the pause, and then shorten the muscle back together. I've done numbers. Generally, it's going to be only 3 seconds on the way down, 1 second pause, 1 to 2 seconds back up. Job done. And then training with intensity. Now, intensity is essentially training to failure. Train to failure either by adding some more reps or more load to the bar every time you train. Keep the tempo, keep the accuracy, and then perform intensity. Stack those 3 things together, you'll have a fucking brilliant physique, let me tell you that. But go into your local gym and watch how many people are doing these 3 things. Very few. Almost zero. Okay? If you do this, that's why your physique will blow up. This is why we get the results we do, because we get them to train properly. That's it. It's literally as simple as that. So that's how we used our training to get this form of a result. Apologies for the glitch. Seems to have been a quick outage of the power in my apartment. Now, next thing we need to dial in is your focus, because you're not doing this for 2 weeks, you're not doing this for 4 weeks. This is going to be a minimum of 12 up to 16 week process. So we need you to focus. We need you to dial in on the goal and put a set of blinkers on like a horse wears and just fucking send it to the goal without getting distracted. But that is easier said than done. If you can't stick to one plan, you have no hope of developing the following. So the first thing this guy had was discipline. I've spoke at length on this channel about this cap badge here. Obviously, I have it myself. This is the cap badge of the parachute regiment within the British Army. The British Army's elite regiment. So This guy had these characteristics in abundance. That's why getting him as a client was an absolute privilege, because I knew he already had the characteristics. It was a case of giving him the knowledge. A lot of people may know the knowledge, but they don't have the characteristics. And honestly, you can have the knowledge. If you don't have the characteristics to get the result, you'll never get the result, because it's just nice information stored in the back of your brain. So discipline. Discipline is essentially, I would pull his food or I would increase his cardio. He would have to go and do it when he didn't want to or feel like it. And, not everyone does. Not everyone wants to, increase cardio, reduce food when you're already hungry and you're already tired. So I understand that. So it's important that you can just turn your brain off, follow the process, and that is the art of discipline. Discipline is, you get to train discipline every time you don't want to do something, but you go and do it anyway. This is something we get taught at length in the military, so it's something that we can apply to this very, very easy. Consistency. The beautiful thing about consistency is it kind of compounds. Do something for 3 or 4 days in a row, you've got confidence in yourself that you are consistent, which means to continue building on that is a lot easier. Then as you've got 2 weeks of consistency, 2 months of consistency, 13 weeks of consistency, you just get more confident with it. So honestly, how do you build consistency? You just focus only on the single daily things to tick off in the beginning. And if you just did that every day, you will stack a load of days on top of each other. Your ego, your self-image, your confidence, to your ability to be consistent to something hard will go through the roof. And then you will lean on that. You will lean on your own ego, self-image when it gets tough and hard. And that's why that's important. So continue to build on that day on day on day on day. It's easier said than done, but actually if you just break it down into the simple points, you will be able to achieve that. Resilience. Resilience is your ability to keep going when it's really fucking tough and hard. This is the last 4 weeks of the diet. This is the last 2 weeks of the diet when food is as low as possible and cardio is as high as humanly possible. It is miserable. It is tough. And you will ask yourself, why did I even want this in the first place? But you won't get many other chances. If you don't work in a job that's really tough, or you don't you're not in the military or anything like that, you won't get the chance to really develop resilience. And as a human being, it's a beautiful thing to develop, because you can carry that into a lot of other aspects into your life. Now, it's not even about the transformation. It's about the man that had to develop these characteristics to get the transformation. The transformation is just one element. You could take these characteristics and pivot them into the rest of your life. If you could do that, that is a beautiful thing. You will go and fucking take what you want each and every day, because you've I know I've got these traits. These are what got me the result. So now I can apply this to this area of my life that's a grey area and just continue to send it and develop it. Honestly, and this is what it's really about. This is what it's about. Your ability to focus, build on these 3 things to become the man you need to become. That's how you're going to get a result like this. These two points here, they're like the information that you need to know to follow and do it. But this is where it's really won and lost. So the better you can harness this, apply it, build these traits, the better man you're going to become, the more likely you're going to have to keep it long term as well. So this was the end result that we got with him. 10% body fat, skinned out, lean, nice and veiny, very, very good effort, looking like a fucking athlete, and that is what we do. If you want me to do this for you, there'll be a link in the description. Just book a call, we can chat and see if it's a good fit. If not, just follow me on Instagram and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you tomorrow.